My name is June Johnson. I am the community and social media manager for Sava, and today I am interviewing the lovely Ashley Castro, also a Sava team member, as we discuss what dabbing and concentrates are, who it's for, and answering all your questions about how to enjoy the most out of this incredible way to consume cannabis. So I will kick it over to you, Ashley, to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley. I've been a photographer in the cannabis industry for about 5 years, and I've been working at Sava for 2 years. I've been consuming dabs for several years, and I love to dab because I'm on the go a lot, and it happens to be a really clean and energizing way for me to get pain and anxiety relief.
I love that. So let's just go right into it. What is dabbing? For those of us who might not know.
Well, dabs are concentrated doses of cannabis. A lot of the time, people consume them in about the size of a grain of rice dab form. I mean, they call it a dab because it's literally just like a little dab of resin, right? Of plant resin. And so they make that usually out of a solvent like CO2 or butane, though also it can be made simply by squishing the rosin into literal rosin. So squishing the cannabis plant into rosin is a better way to describe it. But you can take a bud and put it in between two hot plates and squish that. And that is the amber resin that comes off of the cannabis, and that can be literally dabbed. That's one of my favorite ways to do it because it's the most natural. But they also make live resin as well in a lot of the vaporizer forms that we carry at Sava.
Amazing. Now, who is dabbing for? Are there particular groups of people that it resonates more with? Is it for everyone? How does it work? And who's
I tend to recommend people who have a high tolerance to cannabis to use dabs. So for experienced users, people who have heavy pain or cramping in their body, or people who have a lot of depression or need a relief with sleep. Um, if you're looking for something that is a great way to get off of opiates as well, it offers such a concentrated form of cannabis relief that it is very effective for people in that regard too.
and I know we have to be careful because we're not allowed to, give
Mhm.
medical advice, but anecdotally, it's really nice to hear some of the ways in which people have given feedback that cannabis helps them. And so I think, as we start to learn more about dabbing and as we explore it through Sava's lens, I think it's really great for our customer base to know that it can help. And it has helped other people with some of the items. That's really cool to know. I didn't know that myself.
Exactly. And talking to people when working in the cannabis media field, I've received a lot of feedback about that.
Definitely. So, in that regard, what are some of the other benefits? I know you kind of like touched on them there, but especially in regards to like other forms of cannabis consumption, what are some of the benefits that are specific to dab versus like smoking, edibles, or something like that?
Oh, I choose dabs because I love the rapid onset of smoking and vaping. Though I tend to get allergies to pollen, and so kief from the herb tends to irritate my sinuses a bit. So I choose to dab rosin because it's filters out a lot of that plant matter. And I choose dabbing over, say, the concentrated cartridges because it is stronger and it's something that I have more control over the dosage, and I can get more or less depending on what I'm looking for, where those pens tend to be pretty consistent.
That makes sense. And so, as someone who's never dabbed before, and I'm sure some of our audience is in that same boat, but curious about it and definitely interested in learning more, what are some things I need to know before dabbing for the first time?
Well, I always start with make sure that your first dab is a baby dab. You always want to go low and slow when you start with anything that is going to be psychoactive. And cannabis concentrate is generally 3 or 4 times stronger than the flowers. And so a lot of these dabbable concentrates test at 78 to 99% concentrate, depending on what you go for. But I usually go for something that's in like the 80s range for myself. It's important to go low and slow to gauge your tolerance, and dabbing should be done at a low temperature to preserve the quality of its concentrate, the terpenes, and our lung health. In addition, it's great for people who are looking for a clean and efficient way to get a full spectrum of the terpenes that come from each strain, alongside a high percentage of THC or CBD.
Is it, for instance, like heat? Is it, that kind of clean, or, how should people generally handle it? How do they apply dabbing?
Oh yeah, you have a tool usually to help get the gram out, or like the rosin out of the container. No, I could get one if you would
Yeah.
like me to show you. Okay, I'm gonna go grab one.
While she's doing that, if ever you have questions about cannabis or finding the right cannabis for your needs, it's really helpful to go to our website, getsava.com, put as much information on all the products as possible, but you can also email us at info@getsava.com, as well as call us. We have world-class customer support who can answer any of your cannabis questions. So feel free to email us, call us with any of your cannabis questions, especially as it relates to dabbing.
Mhm.
I'll kick it back over to you, Ashley, to show us.
Yes, and for example, rosin, right? How I was explaining that you can freshly squish a bud into concentrate. I had bought some Sonoma Hills Farm from our shop, and I squished it into my own rosin at my dad's house. He got a rosin press. So that's a rosin right there. And to apply it, you would take your tool and you would take a little bit of the plant matter out, and you just apply that onto your nail, in which we'll go into the details of what it's like to consume cannabis and what tools you need to use to heat it up. But you can put that on a nail. You can put it into a vaporizer as well. They have different e-pens that can be refillable, that you can use rosin or live resin that we carry at the shop as well.
Now, this might be a silly question, but I don't personally believe there are silly questions, especially if it comes to cannabis. Would you take that and put it like on flour before you roll it for a joint or something like that
You
too?
can, yeah, you can get creative with it. I've seen people actually make art out of the rosin because it's a lot like a clay when it's cool enough. And you can refrigerate it and make it hard into a shatter. And that makes it easier to harvest. That's how I take it off of the paper that I squish the bud on. But you can roll it into a nice little like snake and put that into a joint, and that melts really nice in as a smoke. The reason that people dab with concentrate a lot of the time is because you're vaporizing it rather than combusting it. Though you don't always need a special rig or vaporizer to consume these concentrates. You can also put them on your bowl, put them in a joint, eat them.
Multi-purposeful. Well, I guess we'll just kick right off into that. What are some of the myths behind dabbing that you hear that you'd love to clarify?
Yeah, when I first started dabbing, I even thought this about dabbers, that they were lazier or more lethargic, because it took more weed for them to get high. But I realized that once I started to dab, I actually felt more energized, and that the instead of it being a plateau of like a cloudy headedness that I felt when I would consume herb, that I felt more clarity with the concentrates. Maybe that has to do with my allergies to pollen, but it depends. Everybody's different. Um, but I realized that we are usually people who work really hard and party really hard that like to dab. And then the older folks that like to dab, I noticed that they use it more so for pain relief.
Pain management. That's
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions. I mean, cannabis as a whole, right? But then, especially as it comes to dabbing, I know that my, I guess, my unknowing of it made me kind of fearful of it for a while. So that's why I thought sitting down and asking these Q&A questions would be so helpful for people who are curious but want to know more from a trusted source. So that's really good to know about just some of the myths that we've heard that aren't actually true.
Yeah, a lot of the dabbers that I've met are some of the most influential people in the cannabis industry, and it's really exciting to work with them and to see how far they've come powered by concentrates.
Yeah. How long does the high last, especially in
Mm.
relation to other forms of consumption?
That's dependent on your tolerance level. I mean, once you start, it has a rapid onset and it's highly psychoactive. And it can last between 20 minutes to an hour, depending on your tolerance level. Everybody's different. But over time, with regular consumption, you build a tolerance to the product. And when I take a dab in the morning, I can continue dabbing through the day if I'm at home or whatnot. But if I take a dab and I go out and I have to get things done, that dab is satisfactory for a bulk of my day and gets me through most of it.
I know you showed us some of the tools before, but are there other equipment and tools that one needs in order to dab?
Yes, there are a lot of options out there. Right now, people generally prefer emails, which are a heating element that contains a battery that has a quartz nail that you attach to your bong piece, much like a bowl, but it's heated up by a heating element coil that gets the glass or quartz to the correct temperature for you to be able to vaporize it comfortably. That tends to be the least problematic way for people to dab because it doesn't contain an open flame. Sometimes people get afraid of dabbing because it tends to contain a torch heating element in the original and the first stages of dab technology. And that is preferred by a lot of dabbers still, though it's a little bit dangerous and challenging for some people to maneuver a blowtorch.
Are there less, I guess, intense ways that someone can maybe like abstain from using a blowtorch but still be able to use maybe like a lighter or something else on a smaller field, or does it need to be that type of heat?
That is the type of heat that you need to make the either quartz or metal. I much prefer quartz because it's natural and the metal tends to have more carcinogens. Um, the best way to heat that is with the heat of a blowtorch. But there are really great vaporizers out there, like the Puffco or numerous other options. I personally use the Vape Exhale, which is an at-home system that has really lovely little like vials that you just put your drop of cannabis in and you put it into the vaporizer, and it's much cleaner, safer in my opinion.
Leading into that, in terms of dabbing, basically, how clean is this method of consumption?
It's rather clean, in my opinion. Most of the time, dabs are consumed with a water pipe, which helps to filter out a lot of the carcinogens. It's also cannabis plant matter that's already concentrated into a resin. So the cleanliness of heating that material is much cleaner because it only needs to be vaporized at temperatures ranging from 350 to 600 degrees, ideally, depending on your desired effects. And the hotter it is, the more cerebral it tends to be. Also, I've heard that if people have a dab that's too hot, that tends to be when they have their bad experience with it because it's the cerebral effects are just an overdrive there.
Good.
And not many people realize that. Oh, wait, what are you going to say, June?
It's good to know.
Okay, cool. Okay, not many people realize that like specifically in California, the dabbers here are very particular and pristine about the cleanliness of their dab rigs and the tools. You'll see a lot of dabbers carry like a special plastic tool case where they keep alcohol swabs, and they wipe the nail off with the concentrate every time that they take a dab to make sure it's clean. and they will wipe the mouthpiece with the alcohol. So I really felt like that helped us understand the importance of a clean glass piece when consuming all cannabis. And
Yeah.
when you think about your bong too,
Mhm.
as long as your bowl is clean, you get the full terpene profile.
That's very true. Clean methods yield clean results. And just to end on a fun, happy note, tell us one of your favorite memories or an early memory of you dabbing.
Well, one of these is actually, it's not even of the combustible dabbing, it's from eating dabs. It's uh, on the topic of eating dabbable concentrates. Oh, this one was a funny one. At Stern Grove, they have a uh, they're pretty strict about smoking in the park there. So they won't allow people to smoke or vaporize even. So my dad and I had gone to Stern Grove to see Prince's Revolution, not Prince and the Revolution, but his band, The Revolution, in August 2018 when they reunited. And we were urged to eat our dabs because we couldn't vaporize them or combust them there. And since that rule was in place and it was so crowded and we didn't want to be rude, we ate our dabs, and that made us have a even more energetic, like uh, happy and loose dancing experience than we could have imagined. And they hit us pretty fast
Mhm.
within about 20 minutes. So once we consumed them, the park felt more vibrant and everything just felt more alive.
What a great concert to see and dance to.
Yeah, it was one of the best. And it's free at that. Some of the best things in life are free indeed.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ashley, for imparting your wisdom, your advice, just your how to's on the subject matter. I think the more of this that we can do and let people know it's a safe, viable option, it's another alternative for them to be able to consume, I think is really important. So thank you again for sharing this Q&A time with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for hosting, June. I'll see you around.
Have a great day. Bye.
Take care. Bye.